Good morning, everyone. Please find your seat. Let's settle in. Good morning, faculty and staff of Southeastern University. Welcome to the 2025 Symposium. If you're new to our community, my name is Justin Rose. I serve as the Associate Vice President for Information Management and Digital Learning here at SEU. Before we kick off today's fantastic event, I want to welcome Dr. Anthony Roberts, our Associate Provost, to offer our opening prayer.
Good morning. Let's try that again. Good morning. I pray that you all are doing well, rested. This is going to be a great academic year. It is always good when our staff, faculty, and most of all our students are back here on campus. But as we're getting ready for the school year, why don't we welcome the Spirit's presence onto this campus and into our work. God, we are so grateful to be in your creation once again. Lord, we are thankful for the work that you have called us to here at SEU. And we are thankful for every student, staff, and faculty member, and every person who is a part of this community. God, as we work through this day and we hear great presentations and attend breakout sessions, Lord, I pray that we would not only learn a lot, but Lord, it would affect our hearts, our minds, and our souls. And that, Lord, it would help us serve you and your kingdom better. We welcome your Spirit into this place. We pray these things in your name. Let everyone say, amen. Justin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberts. I want to thank each of you for making the time to attend and engage in today's activities. If you're like me, the stress, anticipation, and excitement of the coming academic year are felt intensely in weeks like this. So your participation this morning is a testament to your commitment to collaboration, learning, and continuous improvement at the university. What began 7 years ago as the assessment day has grown into a robust multidisciplinary gathering that strengthens our work and advances our mission together and has resulted in what we now call the Symposium. So a heartfelt thank you to everyone who made today possible, our planning team who have been at it since early spring, our breakout session presenters, faculty, administrators, and staff who have prepared timely, relevant, and I believe mission-propelling learning experiences for all of us. I also want to thank the volunteers for keeping us on schedule, for welcoming us at the check-in and helping us find our way throughout the day. I want to also thank the participants in our expo hall, which has grown significantly this year. We have representatives from 12 of our campus offices, teams who serve our students and keep the engine of the university running. So please take time during breaks to learn how you can partner and collaborate with them to advance our mission. And yes, there are giveaways this year in the Expo Hall in Buena Vista East. So yeah, worth your attendance just for that. Finally, I want to thank our sponsor, D2L, who's sponsoring our breakfast and today's lunch and learn. D2L is the innovative education technology provider behind Brightspace, the platform we know as MyFire, and they've been a valued SEU partner since 2017. All right, so a little roadmap before we start our keynote session today. Here's the flow for the day. We're going to start with our keynote in a moment, and then we'll move into our morning expo time and breakout session 1. That will all be in Buena Vista East on the classroom floor, so just above the mezzanine, floor 2. It'll be followed by a midday break, and then breakout session 2. In the same hall, there are signs on each of the classroom doors indicating which session is meeting in there. Those classroom assignments are also on the Symposium webpage. Thanks to SU Creative for your great work in putting that together this year, which you can find at su.edu/symposium, or you can scan the QR code on the back of your name badge and you'll find where those room assignments are. We'll close the formal program with the lunch and learn, and that is going to be featuring our let's see, there's breakout. Oh, here we are. Yes, so that will close with our lunch and learn, which will be from Curio XR. And then throughout the expo hall will be remaining open during breaks so you can connect with partners and campus offices. So it's my honor to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Christy Ford. She's the Chief Learning Officer at D2L. Dr. Ford brings more than 20 years of experience spanning higher education, secondary education, project management, program evaluation, training, and student services. In her role at D2L, she provides strategic leadership and thought direction ensuring the organization remains at the forefront of innovation in learning, teaching, and academic affairs across institutional, corporate, and global contexts. Dr. Ford has held key roles in both secondary and higher education and has led impactful efforts to expand online learning in the U.S. and across the African continent. Her expertise includes building and scaling online programs, faculty development, instructional design, and pedagogical best practices. She was named a 2022 Online Learning Consortium Fellow, which is the OLC's highest professional distinction, and she received the 2024 Mildred and Charles Wedemeyer Award for Outstanding Practice in Distance Education. She's known for visionary leadership, and she focuses on helping institutions build capacity, scale digital learning, and enhance student success. I most recently saw her present at the Solution Spotlight at the D2L Fusion Conference about exciting new features that you can learn about in one of our breakout sessions today, and she is a great friend of our university. Let's welcome Dr. Christy Ford.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. I'm really glad to be here today. You know, this isn't my first time on campus, and when I pulled up at this time of the year, I'm always excited to be on an academic campus. So thank you for the warm welcome. I really want to spend some time talking with you today about shifting and evolving our mindsets and what do we think about AI and the literacies around that work. So I know you're looking at me like, who is she and why is she up here talking to us? So I want to share a couple of things with you beyond just my bio that might be important for you to be able to understand. So one of the things that Justin talked about was my experiences serving as Chief Academic Officer, Associate Vice Provost. So I've had an opportunity to sit in those seats. I've been a faculty member. I still, every year, teach at least one class because I want to stay connected to the student and the learning experiences. I've served as a consultant and working in East Africa, South America. And as I look at all of this work, I think we're at a very pivotal time right now. We're at this intersection of innovation and tradition. And so today I really want to explore with you how we can challenge the boundaries and some of the assumptions we might have around how we think about the future of the way that we learn, we work, and we live, because we are in an unprecedented time in our lifetime right now. So let's talk a little bit about change. Before I jump in and talk about AI literacies and talk a little bit more about what we're hearing from students, I think we're really in this period of renorming. And what I mean by that is that institutions are engaging with learners through expanded toolkits and opportunities. The digital transformation that's happening, the kinds of tools and opportunities you now have available to expand teaching and learning has changed like no other time before. So the kinds of support that faculty need, the kinds of support that students need has really transcended to another level. And I think that we're all here to have conversations today to really think about how those things will adjust and how we will be able to meet that moment. So when I look at why we should be doing this, I love to talk about Simon Sinek's approach of leading with the why. As I was preparing to come here today, I wanted to just take a look at your website. I always love to look at institutional websites. And when I was on Southeastern University's website, it says it's more than just a place for a degree. I also noted that as I thought about that, just that tagline, I really believe our leaders are calling us and our learners are calling us to create new learning and engagement sessions for our students that are giving them relevant knowledge to be able to transcend and move into the workplace and to hold jobs that we don't honestly even know exist today. If we think about where we're going to be in 5 or 10 or 15 years, this field of work is going to transcend and change so much. I also looked at your 5-year plan that focused on you as faculty of a distinction and being student-focused, highlighting the cultivation of excellent educators and your focus on learning first ethos. Or your QEP. I love that this started out as an assessment conference. I love the title of that, Becoming Whole Person Development for the 21st Century. So I think this is the time for us to have this discourse about the ways we can expand our mindsets and challenge the assumptions we have about the future of learning. I thought the best way to do that was to just share with you what we're hearing from learners themselves. This summer, we released a report. We had the opportunity to sponsor some original research with the Online Learning Consortium. And the research project had 2 phases. The first phase was an open-ended 40-question survey that we sent out to multiple institutions and students from undergraduate to dissertation and doctoral students. Then we followed that up with the phase 2 and did some qualitative surveys with 18 students and did hour-long interviews to really be able to capture some of those themes and findings. And so one of the things, the 2 questions that we asked in the study, number 1, how does student use and perceptions of AI in higher education impact student engagement? And then number 2, and I'm going to really lean in here when we get to this question, how can students be better supported by higher education institutions in their learning and use of AI? And I found that the findings were really rich in terms of really exploring and giving us some nice insights in terms of the current student experiences. There were 5 major areas that we heard from students. Number 1, rather than merely seeking answers, students are leveraging AI to augment creative endeavors and seek skill acquisition. The technology was acting for those students as a collaborative partner, enabling learning to explore new ideas and refine their work, thereby fostering a deeper engagement with subject matter. One of the students in the study said, I use ChatGPT as a brainstorming buddy, using it when I get stuck on an idea or a project. It didn't actually do the work for me, but it gave me that creative nudge that I needed. We're also hearing from students that they are not using AI to replace instruction, but to supplement it, especially outside of the classroom walls. One student described her experiences by saying late at night, just before a paper deadline, she asked ChatGPT to help her brainstorm topic ideas. It didn't write the essay, but it helped me get it started. Another student managing ADHD said that AI helped them break down complex tasks into manageable steps. This is the kind of self-directed scaffolding that we heard over and over in these stories, and it was a powerful learning enabler for students they were moving forward. And what was really interesting to me is it was really critical for the non-traditional students that showed up in the study, those that were balancing work and caregiving and trying to go to school at the same time. We heard from them over and over that AI became this silent partner available 24/7 that was available to them without judgment. We also know that we are in an era of creatives, right? We find that with all the technology that is now out there and social media and all the ways that our students are interfacing with digital learning opportunities, AI is becoming a part of that creative toolkit. It's not just about cutting corners, but for many of them, it's about enhancing their imagination. One student used AI to create unique equations for a physics simulation. Another used it to create a music score with AI assistance and then refined it using her own voice. These are the kinds of authentic learning moments that, as I listened to conversations had with faculty on campuses around the globe, that we're really trying to push the boundaries around. Students are also using AI to prototype business ideas. We heard them talking about generating branding content or testing out new tech skills, showing a strong entrepreneurial drive. The last thing that I thought was really exciting about this slide is that we heard a lot of opportunities where students were creating transdisciplinary learning opportunities. So they were taking STEM and bridging it with humanities and the arts in ways that typically they said weren't available in their traditional classrooms. As I think about this, it causes me to pause and pushes me to ask all of us in this room, how can we honor this honor and even assess this kind of AI-supported creativity in our classrooms and our formal learning environments? Are we prepared to recognize innovation that doesn't come from an essay or a test? We also heard a lot about ethical considerations. We've talked about in the last 18 months the importance of ethical considerations and cheating and thinking about bias, and that was not lost on the students in this survey either. They're not naive about AI. They're already thinking critically about its appropriate use. They're asking questions that many institutions are still grappling with themselves. One student's metaphor stood out. She said, AI is like a knife. It can be used to cook a meal or it can be used to harm. It depends on how you use it. That tells us that they really understand the importance of the tool versus misuse distinctly. They're aware that AI can be used as a crutch, but many of the students that we surveyed, and this was really interesting to me because there's this narrative that I hear at times that students use AI for cheating. We heard from a lot of students who wouldn't even try the tool. because the opportunity to be, the appearance of even being accused of cheating was so high for them. Other students said, you know, this is a subject I'm really passionate about. I want to struggle and I want to learn this because I'm going to need this for the job that I'm going to go into in 2 or 3 years. I think this ethical awareness really opens the door for us. We have a teachable moment to help them frame what is responsible AI engagement. Not the rules alone, but how do we have the dialogue and how do we show our vulnerabilities? I've talked with faculty members who are showing their students in live their failures, their mistakes, their vulnerabilities to increase the opportunity to have the conversation in their classrooms. I wonder, are we meeting students at the moment as AI is rapidly changing, or are we stuck in a reactionary space, focused on detection rather than on education? This was one of the most telling findings. Students aren't just experimenting with it, they're asking for help. They want us as educators to show up in the conversation. One student said, we talk about AI all the time. My colleagues, my classmates, we talk about it all the time outside the classroom, but inside the classroom, it's like it doesn't exist. And for me, that disconnect is growing. Students in this study weren't asking for blank permission to use it or open use. They wanted boundaries and transparency and real talk about where AI is useful and where it's not. I think this is our opportunity as educators to move from this fear-based conversation to a framework-based conversation. Policies are important, but so are stories and scenarios and narrative and shared norms. How can we create this co-creation of space for our students to be able to learn and help us fail forward? What if we were to imagine if a syllabus, every single syllabus, had a short section on AI use? Not just what's allowed, but how it can support learning intentionally. What would that signal to the students that we serve? And let's just be clear. Students are already ahead of most institutions when it comes to AI. They're curious, they're cautious, they're creative. They don't need us to be perfect. They just need us to be present. The biggest implication that we heard from students in this study is we need an opportunity to co-create an approach to AI policy and practice. Not just top-down mandates, but student-informed decisions. This moment invites us to shift our faculty development towards pedagogical designs that are incorporative of AI with intention. So as you're hearing all of this, I guess I want to ask you a question, because I've shared a lot. But students have told us often they're figuring out how to create AI and how to use AI on their own. They don't want silence from faculty. They want clarity, support, and conversation. So I'm going to ask you to take 2 or 3 minutes and turn to the person next to you, and let's really explore some guidance around how you might provide that this semester. So I've created 4 provocations. I'm going to give you a minute to read them, and I'm going to ask you, with 2 or 3 folks next to you, just to consider one of these questions and discuss it. Maybe you're already doing some of this great work, or maybe there's an opportunity to change. So I will give you about 3 or 4 minutes now. right, maybe one more minute. Okay, welcome back. I just love the fall. Welcome back. All right. I'd love to be able to hear from a couple of you. Welcome back. Sounds like there was some good generative conversation that happened. She's saying, uh-oh. You know, it's so interesting how faculty turn into students. Everyone's looking down. Oh, you're giving me eye contact. That's great. So I'd love to maybe hear from 2 or 3 of you in terms of maybe what question you explored and what you talked about. And you're looking at me, so I'm going to... You have food in my eye. Here you go.
Okay. Hello, good morning. We explored 2 things I think that we thought of was just how far it's come in a very short time. You know, 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we were not talking about how do we incorporate this. We were talking about should we be using this? And so now that's an inevitable question that we have to talk about. And then I think realizing, so we're staff, we work with students in a working environment instead of a direct academic environment, but realizing they want to use it, they know it's there. So being honest with, okay, this is a huge power. It needs someone behind it that knows how to wield it. And if we don't know how to wield it well, or catch it when it goes directions that aren't accurate, helpful, we need to put appropriate reviews and quality control checks in point. So that's kind of where we were talking about it.
It goes back to that student comment around a knife, right? Helping students sharpen and understand where and how to apply it. Anyone else? All right. I get a lot of steps in today.
Thank you. Christy, right? Yeah. So your example that you gave, one of the examples, was a student at the last minute trying to complete an assignment who didn't even have a topic. And that's what I've found with AI. It's a crutch. The students maybe don't know how to use it creatively. And I think, so I teach leadership, and a lot of it is about communication, like having a conversation with a person. And students can't do that anymore. They can't send an email. They want to send a text. They won't even call somebody on a phone because fear of having to talk to somebody. So if I add another technology in, I don't know what to do with AI to help them better motivate people, communicate, work on a team. Maybe it works for some things, but for me, I'm struggling with what do I do with it? My name's Rick.
Rick, nice to meet you, Rick. So I'm glad you brought up this piece around communication. I'm working on a book chapter right now, and one of the things that we're doing is using AI as a reflective practice. So having conversations with AI, one of the things that my co-author is doing in her leadership course is she has scaffolded an assignment, had students to be able to interact with that ChatGPT or whatever your enterprise tool might be, and then asking them to download that transcript to submit that transcript for assessment purposes around a rubric and a guide and framework. And so, to your point, students aren't sure how to use it, and so they're really looking for us to help them find ways to have these generative conversations with them in that are meaningful ways. So thank you for sharing that, Rick. Anyone else? Oh, yay. All right, I'm coming. Everybody turns their head down when I come this direction.
Hi, my name's Kelly. I run the program here for students with intellectual disabilities. So I love that you had the comment on there about how it can benefit neurodiverse populations. And we've really taken heart to this year, and all of our classes are really integrating, explicitly teaching them how to prompt so they can really use it to practice, to review things, to do mock interviews, to break things down into steps, because they really can benefit from the extra assistance without a person having to sit there and do it with them.
All right, one more. Okay. She said, I'll do it. She took one for the team.
I actually learned this from a student. So I teach anatomy and physiology for healthcare majors. And one of the students came to review his test, and he was like, yes, I got this whole section right. And I said, well, what did you do to get it right? I always make them self-reflect. So he said, I put it into ChatGPT and asked it to make me the topic, cardiac output, and the things that we were studying in that section, and asked it to make me increase, decrease, stay the same questions because you said that's what you ask. And it did it, and when I didn't understand it, it explained it again to me. And so I started telling the class, like, you should be doing that. Take your review sheets and upload them and ask it to make you questions. If they're harder than mine, well, mine will seem easier, and at least you have a basis to catch the gaps in your learning so you know where to focus your study.
Tell me your name again. Laura, thank you, Laura. Really great example. Excellent. Give yourself a round of applause. That was great. You know, one of the other students that I didn't mention in this study. Uh-oh. One more? Oh, Jeremy, your son made her proud. One of the other examples I didn't share was a student who did something very similar, took the course content and asked ChatGPT to create quiz questions, and so was able to create those quiz questions, to your point, to really be able to have this low-stakes opportunity to be able to test and make sure that they understood their learning. We asked a faculty member to reflect on that, and they kind of took it to the next level and said, okay, now I want you to go back thinking about Bloom's taxonomy, provide, types of questions at different levels of critical thinking. And so, to your point, these are the kinds of things. So I just will encourage you, as you're going back to this semester, getting ready to move into the classroom this year, what are some ways that maybe you could challenge your students? What are some things that you might do to be able to have this discourse? Because our students are really wanting us to help them to be proficient. They want to be able to move into workplace and opportunities where they're able to think about the efficiencies of scale. And they're looking for you to help them do it. I'll share one personal example. For my oldest daughter is going to her senior year of college. And one of the things that I think we are all struggling with in higher education is how do we redefine the value proposition of higher ed in this time and age? Because students are starting to find other ways through TikTok and all kinds of things to teach themselves. And so my daughter came home for a Christmas break, and I make my children work on the break so they can take their money back for school. I'm like, we pay your tuition, you have to have the extra money. And she said, well, I'm not going to work this holiday break, Mom. And I said, well, why? She said, well, I've been following this influencer on TikTok for the last 3 months. She's taught me how to day trade options, and look, I've made $5,000. And I'm like, but I'm paying tuition at this institution, and your major is political science, right? And so we had to have a conversation around, well, maybe you should minor in finance, or So it was an eye-opening opportunity for me as a leader in thinking about the ways in which all of this technology is really pushing and pulling us to change the ideological views that we have and sometimes how we teach and how we help students learn. So for what it's worth, she did not work that that holiday break because I was like, I can't make her work because she does have the money. That's right. Which TikTok influencer, right? She's still day trading. So I want to move us along from that survey and talk a little bit about what I have heard termed AI literacy. And I want to actually push the boundaries of that. I want to move us away from this harmful binary of either you're literate or you're illiterate in terms of AI literacies, and have us think about this more in the spectrum of dimensions. I think too often as educators and academics, we love a good framework, we love a good rubric, we love a good conceptual ideology to move this work forward. But as someone said in the comments, this work is changing and moving so quickly. We have to really rethink the ways in which we are pushing and thinking about the development of our work. So we had an opportunity to partner with the authors of a study who answered just this question. They did some work based on the influences of Doug Belshaw's 8 Essential Elements of Digital Literacies, and was a project that was funded by the UNESCO Foundation at MIT. And really what they noticed in doing that initial scan was that many public institutional approaches were rote. There was a checklist, there was a policy, and they called it a day. But as they had conversation with these 50 global leaders in every continent with the exception of Antarctica, they realized the internal dialogue was a lot more nuanced. And so through a series of conversations with 50 global leaders, they learned that the field is actually facing a need and an opportunity to look at the development of AI literacies. So what they developed was a map of constellations led by Dr. Angela Gunder, who led the research team to identify 8 dimensions of AI literacy. She really focused on, and the team focused on, that AI literacies and the dimensions are about a skill set, but also a mindset. And how do we think about these dimensions more broadly? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of these on the screen, and then I have a little sweetener for you at the end of this presentation. But for instance, the first one, cognitive AI literacies. How are we using AI to expand intellectual capabilities by engaging with AI-enabled processes and environments? I was just working with a colleague, Sean McMinn, at Hong Kong Science and Technology, who wrote an article on metacognition and how are we thinking about the metacognitive process that happens for learners in our classrooms in the age and the time of AI. So, to that point, that's one dimension of a large subset. Communicative AI, to my friend Rick over there. Thinking about leveraging AI technologies to convey ideas effectively, or recognizing social cultural practices and nuances that AI interprets and influences in different settings. Or confident AI literacies, which I think is a big one that we don't talk about enough. Developing the ability to solve problems, manage learning within AI-driven environments by understanding and harnessing their unique potential and their pitfalls. Which AI LLM do I use? In which circumstances? How do I go about fact-checking? How am I thinking about the ethical bias that may be there? How are we helping students grapple with the stickiness and the complexities that exist? The last one I'll offer on the screen is civic literacies. I had a conversation in Minnesota 2 weeks ago with a librarian who works at a public library, and she was talking about this is an area where they're doubling down. So employing AI knowledge and skills that contribute positively to the society, using AI to foster community empowerment, engagement, and societal progress. So if you look at these eight dimensions, they are meant to be essential in their own right, but really it's the constellation, the connection points that come between these different pieces of constellation that helps them to work together and map out a broader landscape of AI, allowing us to move from one context to another with a sense of direction and purpose. So rather than just searching for that one perfect model, I really want to implore you to think about the wide, duplicitous nature of AI and how complex and consistently it continues to get more complex. As we look at the data that she did, I'm sorry, I should have been showing this slide, but this is the constellation. So it's the same ones, just all connected here on the map here. But as we looked at the data that she saw from the global leaders and did some of that transcript and thematic analysis, there were 3 that rose to the top that just really saturated where global leaders were focusing. So let me just share those with you now. The first one was constructive AI literacy. How are institutions utilizing AI tools to build, remix, and generate new content, applying AI capabilities? How are we figuring out what they are and what they can do? It's really interesting because this is also connected to the confident literacies. If you figured out what it could do and what it is 6 months ago, and you rested on your laurels and went to see something else, you go back to that same tool, it's a completely different set of features and functionality. So it requires us to continue to go back to that well and engage. Or critical AI literacy, so examining the power dynamics and the ethical considerations inherent in AI practices. How can we really undergird the ethical and the equitable use of AI? What are we doing at our campus level to really be thinking about? Some students can afford that monthly subscription fee while others can't. And so are we making sure that we're thinking about the equitable use of AI, that they all have access to the same LLM? And then lastly, cultural AI literacy. So recognizing the connections between people, AI-informed resources and tools, and points of engagement with AI tools. So how we keep that educator or that human in the loop, and examining things like how we can create multilingual support to create new opportunities for collaborations. We heard that a lot from leaders who were in areas, Latin America and Africa, where there's certain mini dialects there, that this was a good opportunity to move that work forward. So as I examine this with you and have you think about this, I'm just going to ask you a point of inflection, and I'm going to go back to the actual slides so you can see them all. When you think about your own teaching or the work that you do with students as staff members or as academicians, which one of these AI literacies feels most urgent for your students to develop and why? And then the second part of this is, how might you begin to intentionally weave this into your course? So I'm going to give you a moment of silent reflection to think about that and think of these dimensions. And then I'd love to maybe hear and kind of talk through that with a couple of you here today. Which AI literacy feels most urgent to your students to develop and why?
Thanks. I think insofar as Gen Z and then increasingly Gen Alpha comprises so much of our what we consider traditional age student population, self-efficacy and confidence is a major psychosocial challenge for them. And so developing the ability to solve problems and managing learning within AI-driven environments, I think is going to be absolutely key. I mean, it's probably in competition with some of these other literacies as a priority, but just engaging with students today, I know that if we can give them any tools to increase their confidence as problem solvers, then we've added value to their experience.
Thank you. What are you seeing from your students? I see both of you. I'll go.
Thank you. From a missional standpoint, we're trying to raise up leaders who are going to serve the world for Christ and to change the world. And I think from that perspective, the literacy of civics is really important. And how can they use this tool to accomplish those goals? Go for it. I'm not in the classroom with students. I'm a staff member, so I haven't actually. I would love to hear from faculty if this is happening.
All right, that's a challenge.
I would say cognitive. Specifically, I teach academic writing for social work, and I think as professors, sometimes we presume the level of literacy among our students, and we forget that research articles are designed for professionals in the field. They're not designed for college-age students. The terminology, the language, the interventions, all of that is a struggle for students to comprehend and understand the core meanings of research articles. And what I found is, I know we talk a lot about ChatGPT, but there's Google Notebook is an incredible resource for students to access and have it break down articles into a way, like we would spend all class translating. I would have them go to the board and translate the word that they've struggled with into a more digestible word for them. And what I've noticed is that Google Notebook is an asset in that way. It also can create podcasts out of the articles, and the student can participate in those podcasts. So for those, like for instance, who have dyslexia, that is such an amazing asset for them to still comprehend the information and be at a level where they can actively participate in the conversation.
So 2 comments to that. One, what I'm noticing in this study and the study with the students is ChatGPT has become the Kleenex of LLMs, right? It is the brand recognition. So to your point, there are lots of LLMs that are out here, but sometimes because when you say ChatGPT, everybody knows kind of what you're talking about, it gets superimposed into other areas. The second thing I will say, as staff and faculty, we have all of our experiences and our degrees and our backgrounds, but sometimes we forget what it's like to be a student. I just picked up pickleball recently, and it's been very humbling to me to start something new, and the scoring, reminding myself and reminding ourselves of what it's like to be that new learner in a space learning something new is really critical. I saw a hand, but I lost it.
I think piggybacking off of what Justin said, I would say the critical one comes to play because in the light of, I think now these young people can almost feel the pressure of being able to access so much information. Well, you should just be able to figure this out, that there's these resources for you. But then understanding that we are all finite creatures created by God, and only He is all-knowing. Only He can do and know all of these things and wield all of it. So I think also critically understanding that there is a peace that comes in not knowing and asking questions. So having that confident ability to critically think, what can I do, what can't I do, and when to ask for a person's help as well.
I will just echo on that point. I was in Singapore in May working with some institutions there, and they are killing it on the confident literacies in terms of their development of their learners. And so when I come back to North America and see what we're doing here on my home soil, I'm like, oof, we got to figure out how to help students to fail forward, to feel comfortable, to have these conversations, to have this discourse, because our learners are the ones that are not going to just be working in Florida. They're going to be working around the globe. And so how can we make sure that when they're going up against other industries or other individuals from different parts of the globe, that they're proficient and they have those abilities and that fluency and that stickiness to be able to talk in those manners. One last comment. All right. Okay, I saw two. What do you left?
Hi, I teach databases, so we're super boring over here. It has to be a little bit engaging. So one of the first assignments that we do for management of information systems is a review. I have them do a short form review, like a reel, on the AI product of their choice. A lot of them have never tried it, and so what surprised me when they come up and they give a very short review, this is what I did, this is how it went, bunch of screenshots, they turn in all of their transcripts of the prompts, and then these are the ethical considerations that I either should have thought of or that I encountered. They get a tops 3 minutes. What surprised me about the way that they used it, because I give them no constraints, I told them I'm not going to tell you what to do, we're just going to see what you do, was that they weren't using it to solve scholastic problems. They didn't use it like, a couple were like, so I asked it to do this assignment for me and this is what came up. And I was like, sure, you also passed. But a lot of them asked it, how do I shop better within my budget? How do I understand this news that is coming out? Why is my dad yelling at the news? Like that was a fascinating 3 minutes for all of us. And so the way that they were layering it into their lives, and we do it right at the beginning of the semester, so that I have several surprise assignments that are in the syllabus, don't worry about me, but I don't give them the full description. Like they'll write a paper and then surprise, same week you need to have a chatbot of your choice write the same paper and compare the assignments to tell me how those compare. And the wild things that come back really do temper the idea that this is data from Star Trek. So like they'll turn in a paper and like, well, it wrote the paper and it was okay, but the name of the professor is a little wrong. And I looked at it and it was Jennifer Aniston. And I'm like, why? Where did that, why? So there's, it really keeps their guard up, but incorporating it in tiny bits, those only take them a couple of minutes, since we've talked about how to access them, where they are, what you can use. I found like they just had a little less of a shine on it. So they were less likely to cheat because they might call you guys Jennifer Aniston. So.
Thank you. That's really good. How many of your students are using LLMs and are chatting with them with the microphone versus typing with them? How many of you the students are actually chatting? Okay. Final comment.
So I have been very kind of anti-AI in the past, but I'm learning and changing, and I think one thing that really helped me change a lot was the communicative, and that's when I went to different countries this summer and worked and taught, and I really could see how I could use AI to communicate better in Swahili and Spanish and Albanian and different languages, and to develop thinking maps and visuals that would convey abstract concepts. And so it made me start to think about how my students could do that. And I'm honestly going to be expecting more out of them because they have more tools, and therefore my expectation will be greater. It's going to be that, yes, now you can add these different things to an education, to if they're developing a lesson plan or something. So my expectation is going to be big. My one fear that I have of AI is I see students using it for relationship advice. I see students using it for social connection instead of people connection. And so I think that's something we have to navigate.
Thank you. We should talk offline. Sam Altman just talked about the Chat 5.0 and some of the restrictions they're putting around some of the relational pieces. I think to your point, all of your points, we talk about andragogy and hudagogy, but we don't always embody it in terms of thinking about the 6 assumptions, right? In terms of why students learn, the need to know, the connection to their environments. And so I think we have a greater chance now to help those students to become self-directed learners. So thank you for sharing all of that. I do want to share with you, if this is of something of interest to you, I want to step further. And I partnered with the authors of this research, and we've created a self-guided Brightspace course that walks you through the research, walks you through the literacies. If you scan that QR code, it will take you to the registration page. You'll also get to see all the new tool Brightspace features because we did it with some Lumi and some Creator Plus and all the things in the work. But really, if this is of interest to you, this gives you an opportunity to just kind of really get a little bit stickier and really understand. If you like this work and you want to be able to be a part of this scholarship, we're also collecting case studies and narratives to be able to push back to UNESCO for stage 2. Next slide, I'm going to share with you my contact information. So reach out to me. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me how it connects. Tell me how you're thinking about these different dimensions of literacies, AI literacies, and where you're seeing a connection. Or maybe you start something this fall and you let me know by the holiday how it went for you. Everybody able to get that? All right. Well, I really appreciate the time and opportunity to be connected with you all. One of the things I love about my job is I don't talk features and functions. I get a lot of opportunity to talk about the scholarship of teaching and learning. So we have a site called Teaching and Learning Studio. So we develop free and openly available master classes. I have a podcast that's about to kick off next month. So as we're talking about what you're grappling with, are there things you want to see? There are things you're interested in? I encourage you to take a snapshot of that QR code as well. It'll take you to the website for you to see all the things that we're doing. I'll be around for the remainder of the morning, so if there's anything else that I can do or you have questions or would love to be engaged. The last thing I will say, just because I'm nerdy, we're doing a Lumi study, so we're working with 7 institutions that are heavy Lumi users and creating some use cases in partnership with a company called Digital Promise that does a lot of ed tech research. So as those narratives come out in the spring, I'd love to make sure that I share those with Justin and with all of you. But anything that we're doing or any ways that we can be connected, would love to stay connected. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ford. I'm so energized by the concept of building AI literacies at our institution, and personally, I'm glad somebody brought up Notebook LM by Google. They actually just released a new feature in addition to the audio overview. Now there's a video overview, so you can rapidly iterate instructional content for your face-to-face or even online courses by uploading a scholarly article, uploading your own text, producing a video overview, and it's very high quality with professional narration behind it. So now what used to take many hours or perhaps outsourcing to an instructional design firm now can be done in 5 minutes from your laptop or from your mobile phone. So it's really incredible. So plug for Notebook LM there. We'll be talking about ways that we are engaging AI literacies and bringing them to bear in our classrooms. In our concurrent session on Meeting the Moment, a dialogue on AI in the classroom. So that is coming up in our next session. We have a morning break starting in the next few minutes, followed by expo time. So you'll make your way over to the Buena Vida East building, to the classroom floor. In that lobby, there are a series of table setups where you can engage with folks at the expo, and then make your way to breakout session 1. We'll have tracks ranging from teaching and learning to digital tools and student support. There will be a session offered by our friends from D2L and our digital learning and MyFire support and training team about all the new features coming to MyFire in the next couple of semesters. And Dr. Ford mentioned a couple of them. That includes Creator Plus, which allows you to create interactive instructional technology tools directly inside of your MyFire course. Lumi, which is a generative AI-enabled tool for rapid instructional design, as well as some other fantastic applications of that proprietary AI in the very near future, as well as some other features that are coming soon that you won't want to miss. There's a short midday break and more expo time following the first breakout session, and then breakout session 2 with additional sessions on instructional practice, systems, and collaboration. So you had a chance to register before the symposium. If you didn't, the signs will be posted on each door so you can kind of find the session that's of interest to you. And then following breakout session 2, we'll make our way over to the Deanne Brown Conference Center in the 3rd floor of the Welcome Center across campus for a lunch and learn featuring our friends from Curio XR, who are going to be using MetaQuest VR headsets to demo some engaging extended reality, virtual reality software curriculum that we may be taking advantage of at Southeastern in the near future. So don't miss out on that. We won't make you wear the headset while you're eating lunch. We don't want to make anybody sick. Try to avoid an anatomy and physiology lesson while we're having lunch together. Focus on other things. Before we dismiss, one more thing. It's so fun to say that. Perhaps the most requested capability in MyFire that our full-time faculty have asked for, all of you have asked for since we implemented the LMS in 2017, is to have editing permissions in fully online courses. And because of our master course philosophy and a commitment to the integrity and consistency of our online courses, we've just not been able to make that available. We've been partnering closely with our colleagues in information technology and digital learning to find a way forward. And so today, it's my pleasure to announce a new online course editing initiative, which is a new faculty program launching this coming spring, the 25-26 academic year. It'll be in the spring. Yeah, so you're welcome to clap. It's designed to make the revision process lighter, faster, and more supported, especially for those of you who are scaling your online offerings, and give you the opportunity to bring your own contextual expertise directly to the content of your courses. So we're not just opening up the barn doors of editing access to our online courses. There will be a program with an application process and comprehensive training. Will basically turn you into an instructional technologist to make sure that you can maintain the integrity of those master courses. But we want to meet you where you are and give you the ability to take advantage of those tools. So there will be more information about that throughout the fall, and then we will start the program in the spring. 2 quick invitations as you head out over to Buena Vida East. Try one new thing that you heard today. Engage with the AI literacies that Dr. Ford talked about. Maybe an AI-supported workflow or a feedback technique or even a simple digital activity that can boost engagement in your classroom. And then secondly, share your feedback. It'll help shape the symposium. So you can scan this QR code here. We'll also be sending a follow-up with that QR code and link to the survey. And so wait to complete it until we've actually completed our activities today, but your feedback will be so helpful. Thanks again for investing your time and talent today. Enjoy the morning, explore the expo hall, and we'll see you in the concurrent sessions. Have a great symposium. Thank you.